As long as you approach porn with an understanding of what it is you're looking at and enjoy it in moderation and avoid anything illegal, you'll be fine. Have fun.
Rob accused the Scottish Government and Education Scotland of promoting pornography in schools. His little image we made illustrating that. Now, John Swinney denies this. He says the new sex education materials promote nothing, but he's wrong, and he tries to shroud what's going on with a cloak of bland, innocuous edubabble. Now, in this video, I'm going to look at a bit more from the Relationship, Sexual Health and Parenthood resources from the Scottish Government, and I'm going to look at another part of a video from a lesson plan for pupils aged 15 and above.
Part 2! Was this real life? Now, while pornography can be fun and sexy to enjoy, there's a few things you should keep in mind while doing so. Mostly that it's not real. Like anything in show business, it's made with actors by directors using a team of filmmakers for our entertainment.
Well, that's a good point, actually. Porn is not real, but the message here is don't let it ruin your sex life with unrealistic expectations. But the fact is that pornography will do that, because it decouples sex from love in a relationship. In fact, it decouples it from any sort of relationship. With a sexual relationship, it's something that needs to be invested in. And you invest in the relationship, and then sex is part of the fruit of that relationship to be enjoyed. Whereas pornography, sex is cheap. It's instant, no relationship investment at all. And that undermines the relationship capacity of the people who watch it. It seems unfair to have to invest in a relationship in order to experience sex when you can just have a shortcut to pornography. And that's the mindset that men can often get in through watching pornography, but then they find that actually real women disagree with him. And that's the effect of pornography, no matter what amount, no matter what type of pornography. Now, sex should have a certain mystique and should be approached with even reverence as a very powerful and profound human experience. It shouldn't be made into something vulgar and trivial like this.
In porn, female genitals are typically expected to look all neat and tidy, but in reality, that's just one of infinite possibilities. There's a wall of vaginas behind me, isn't there? Part 3! The law! Much like any form of adult entertainment, you're technically not supposed to watch porn until you're at least 18 years old. You are 18 years old, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In the UK, though, it's not actually illegal to watch porn at any age, but it is adult entertainment, so the key word there being adult.
Now, what we see here is they're thinking to themselves, we better say something responsible. We better say, don't watch porn if you're under 18. That'll keep critics like me off their back. They'll be able to say, see, we said it was for adults only. But then he makes a joke that younger people do watch pornography, completely undermining the previous message, then spends the rest of the video telling under 18s to have fun with porn and also telling them that it's legal. The main message is go ahead recommending porn. You can't undo a constantly repeated message just with one little statement that is for adults, especially when that statement's already been undermined twice by joking about it and by blatantly contradicting it. Anyway, let's carry on and see what he's got to say about the law.
There are some types of porn that are not only illegal to make, but also illegal to watch, so don't do that. Some types of illegal pornography include anything where the person involved has not or cannot give their consent to the situation. This means no children, no animals, no one drunk or unconscious, and certainly no one being forced against their will.
You get the message, so some porn is illegal, but everything else is absolutely fine, including the perverted forms of pornography that he promoted in the earlier part of the video.
Part 4! The dark side. So far, I've tried to keep this video light and fun, but the truth is there are some serious issues with pornography. First of all, whenever something makes you feel good, your brain releases feel-good chemicals which you can easily become dependent on. So in the interest of not becoming addicted to porn...
Well, this bit's going well. He recognises that pornography is addictive. As with many things that are addictive, it's also progressive, in that the amount of pornography that's necessary to stimulate you at one time doesn't work anymore, and you can using it more and more and more and more. And as one type of pornography loses its appeal, ever more, for example, violent forms, or forms going for younger and younger people, and often the progression is you go for pornography involving, say, 18-year-old girls, then girls who might be 18 but are deliberately trying to look younger, and then actually to watching pornography involving younger people, and then actually becoming paedophiles. Some men testify that that is how they became paedophiles, was through this progression through pornography. It also destroys relationships. That's a big deal for all involved, especially kids. So it's clearly in everyone's interest not to become addicted to porn. Now the answer is clear. The way to avoid being addicted to porn is not to use it. But let's hear the answer from Education Scotland and the Scottish Government.
Please try and moderate how much you watch.
Oh dear. But what did we expect? They take the harm reduction approach to all these issues. They apply it to other areas as well. Once in a school I was working at, there was a stall in a health fair by an organisation called Crew. And it was manned by a couple of blokes. They were talking about drugs. The couple of blokes who were manning it looked like, well, maybe they'd stopped using drugs very recently. Maybe. Anyway, I took a leaflet from their table. And one of the things it said was this. It said, if you're worried that your cannabis use might be adversely affecting your mental health, we recommend that you monitor your use and keep records of how much you're using. So in this harm reduction mindset, to present a case to refrain from an activity is heresy. You must always say it's fine, go ahead, but maybe just take these precautions just to reduce the harm that might ensue.
Secondly, sexual consent is almost never a factor in porn, and when it is, it's usually there to be ignored. Rape and sexual assault are hugely popular themes in porn, and when you see this stuff enough times, you begin to become desensitized and start to think it's acceptable. It's not.
Right, Tomska, great point. Well done. Almost all porn normalizes and sanitizes sexual assault and rape. So why are you recommending it? Research has shown that when a group of men watch pornography and then are asked afterwards about the seriousness of rape as a crime, the tendency is for that group to say they see rape as a less serious crime than groups of men who haven't been watching pornography in the experiment. And that applies for all sorts of pornography, not just particularly unpleasant forms of pornography. Now you may say, oh, where's the research? Where's the research? Okay, you could dig out that research, but it's obvious. Just think it through. If pornography cheapens sex, sex is seen as a casual and insignificant act, then of course rape is going to be seen as a less serious crime.
Finally, porn is an industry largely operated by straight men for straight men. Most porn, even lesbian porn, is designed to appeal to men, and what this does is it teaches all of us that women are just objects that exist solely for men's sexual pleasure and entertainment by focusing almost exclusively on what guys want.
Again, quite right. Pornography gives men a degraded view of women as sexual objects. Correct. I'm right with the feminists here. So my answer is, therefore, don't look at it. And yet the message from the feminist-obsessed Scottish Government is, do go ahead and look at pornography. Now he fails to mention gay pornography, which is also an absolutely massive industry, but of course we mustn't criticise anything to do with gay men, so they ignores gay porn completely. But in one sense, gay porn could be seen as worse, because gay porn leads to men seeing other men as sexual objects. That's a bad thing. But in the process, it also leads them to see themselves just as sexual objects. So you could argue that maybe gay porn is even more destructive. So it's quite right that pornography tends to focus on what men want. Now I'm just going to look at an illustration of that. Sorry I have to talk about this again. Let's look at anal sex. So originally something among gay men, but then through pornography it's something that's spread, and a lot of heterosexual men have been desiring that, and a lot of women don't actually want to do it, but they feel pressurized into it by pornography-fueled males. And that's tending to undermine harmonious heterosexual relationships. And that's a big deal, because harmonious heterosexual relationships lead to stable family life, that tend to lead to happy, healthy and successful kids, and that's a good thing for society as a whole. Now the RHSP resources recognise the issue of boys pressurising girls to have anal sex, but it still presents anal sex as a perfectly valid option, on a par with natural male-female sex. They have to, because if they didn't, that wouldn't be LGBT inclusive, would it? So effectively, through the way they're presenting anal sex, they're weakening the position of women resisting pressure and strengthening the hand of men demanding anal sex. So in other words, they recognise the problem, but then make it worse. They reinforce it. So that's replying to the video, but what's completely missing from the video? How about faithfulness and exclusivity? Porn gives sexual gratification, sexual arousal, with many different people, many different women, for a man watching it. Now, sex should be associated with one person and associated with a strong relational, intimate bond with that person. Now, if a man associates sex with his wife, full stop, end of story, that strengthens the bond between them. But if a man thinks, I can have sex with my wife, but can also go to pornography and be sexually stimulated by lots of other women as well. That weakens the bond with his wife and makes that relationship less likely to be stable. So sexual relationships should be faithful and exclusive. That's why women often feel betrayed when they discover that their male partner is using pornography. You'll always get some women who claim not to care. But in that case, partly I don't believe them. Maybe they just don't understand how sexual relationships should work. But almost all women do. And that's another reason why pornography is a relationship destroyer. It distorts men's sexuality so they can't maintain a healthy relationship with a real woman. But it also causes women to back away from relationships with men seeking sexual gratification through other women in pornography. From the Scottish Government mindset, the only real boundaries are the law. But what about moral considerations here? Anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart, so said Jesus. So that happens to be my personal view as well, that viewing pornography is immoral for that reason. And then when I think that through, if I look at the consequences of pornography, I can see that it makes perfect sense for it to be regarded as immoral. So when my conscience says to me that something's wrong, something is wrong with pornography, that makes perfect sense, and that's something that needs to be listened to. But Education Scotland, the Scottish Government, promote pornography as a fun activity. So when a young person looks at pornography, their conscience will be saying, this is not right, this is not right. But the Scottish Government is urging them to reject their conscience, ignore that feeling of guilt, and press ahead in any case. That's a serious matter. That's what we mean by corrupting children. So Education Scotland, the Scottish Government, is in direct conflict with mainstream Christian teaching and every other world religion that I'm aware of, and they know it. But their mission as progressives, so-called, is to leave behind the values and traditions of the past and to create a brave new world based on their own ideology. And that's what they're doing, starting in schools, here in Scotland, targeting your children. If you want to check the source of the material I've talked about in this video, there's a very precise description of how to find that in the description for this video. Do subscribe to us on YouTube. Do join the Scottish Family Party. There's a link below. That's the way you can contribute to our fight back against this type of education. We're having a conference on the 16th of November in Edinburgh. It'd be great if you could come along to that. It'd be good to see you. We've made another couple of videos about Tomska, the boy here, and his sex education resources. So I'll put links to those at the end. And thanks for watching.